Hey friends, this is She's At It Again. My name's Tanya, and this is not actually the beginning of the food video. This is to tell you that the video that I made yesterday that you're about to watch, hopefully you'll stick around and watch it. I kind of did this video. I was flying by the seat of my pants making this soup. A friend of ours was having surgery, and we were going to take dinner over there last night. So I decided to make this soup, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to do noodles or dumplings. I don't know. I was just kind of making it up as I go. But as confusing as this video is, the soup was so good. So I need to let you know that even though I look like I'm not really sure of myself in the video, and I wasn't, I was just kind of making it up as I went. Like I said, the soup turned out so good that I was considering actually making more and making more for us. There was enough to where I set aside maybe like a quart of it for us to have for dinner last night and sent the majority over to our friend's house. But the soup turned out so good. So pay attention to this. I'm going to put the recipe in the description, of course, like I always do. But as willy-nilly as I was going about it, going, well, I added a little more salt. Well, when the camera was off, I added something to this. Well, I made more dumplings and put in it. It turned out so good. I could not have followed a recipe and it tasted any better. So my husband kept saying today, I called him and I said, I started to buy some more chicken because that soup was really good last night. He said, hey, I wouldn't be mad at all if you made that soup again. It was good. And he just kept saying it all through dinner last night. This is so good. So anyway, just to let you know, as unsure of myself as I appeared to be, and I was when I was making it, because I'm never sure what anything's going to taste like. Worst case scenario, it's horrible and I just delete the video and you never see it, you never hear about it. But as goofy as the video is and as kind of mismatched as I felt it was, I just felt scattered about it. The soup was really good. So don't dismiss the fact that you're coming up on a recipe and a video where you will not want to miss it. So stick with us and let's start the video now. Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. My name's Tanya, and I'm going to start some chicken soup. This might be chicken noodle soup, might be chicken and dumpling soup. I don't know. I'm just going to kind of fly by the seat of my pants. Oh, there's Lacey and Zoe back there watching. But one of my very favorite young people in the whole wide world is going to be having some surgery tomorrow. So we're going to take dinner to him tomorrow night. And the mom said it's okay if I bless him in this way. So let's get started. I just want to show you how easy it is to start this soup. And crazy enough, we're going to start with a package of organic chicken drumsticks. Yep, those things that you thought had no purpose except for grilling them and being the only chicken with a handle. That's what I used to say when I was a kid. I wanted the piece with the handle on it. So I just took these out of the freezer. So literally, hard as a rock, frozen. We're going to put these in a slow cooker. Slow cooker like this. This is one that I inherited. We're going to put just enough water in there to where you think it'll cover it once they start falling apart and thawing and cooking down. And that water is going to be your broth. Actually, it's going to be considered bone broth. Now, if you're just wanting to make bone broth, this is actually how you start making it. You'll just happen to have meat with it in the first batch, but then you'll cook it several times over. This is apple cider vinegar. And I'm just going to do a little tiny capful. This can't hold more than a half a teaspoon probably. We're going to put that in there. That's going to draw the minerals out of the bones, or that's what I'm told. I'm not a scientist. I'm just going by. If I can't see it and prove it, then it may not be true. But that's what I'm told happens. You use cider vinegar and it draws the minerals out of there. Okay, I'm going to put this in the sunroom because it's still really not, it's not hot outside today. This is one of our first cooler weather days. We actually had rain this morning, in which we are so grateful. But it's not really cool enough yet to where I can plug something in to cook all day or all night and it not fight the air conditioner. So I'm going to plug this in out in the sunroom. And when we come back, I'll show you that this is kind of falling apart-ish. We're going to pick the chicken off the bones. We'll save the bones for another batch of bone broth. And then we're going to make our noodles or dumplings or whatever we decide to do and get our soup finished. So stay tuned and we'll make some soup together. Okay, one thing I forgot to tell you, if you want to get this done fast, obviously turn your slow cooker on high, but if you want to let it cook most of the day and just let it cool off that evening and debone it then, or if you want to let it cook overnight, low and slow, turn it on low. There's really not a wrong way to do it in your slow cooker, high or low. You're both going to come out, either way with basically the same product, but I'm going to just turn mine on low at first and see how that goes. It'll probably be several hours. I'll let it cool into the night or into the evening tonight and either debone it tonight or tomorrow morning first thing, but we'll probably be making our soup tomorrow, so hang on. Okay, so here's the part of this recipe that I'm flying by the seat of my pants, totally flying by the seat of my pants. I just make up things as I go. Whatever sounds good, that's what I'm adding to it. So this soup, I'll describe it as a combination between chicken and dumplings and a chicken pot pie. So if that sounds good to you, then let's roll with it. And other than that, I'm getting texts, so I'll have to answer those. But we're gonna put a couple of cups of flour and some salt in this bowl, because this is what we're going to make our dumplings in, which could be closer to resembling noodles. It just depends on how thick I make them. I'm going to put about maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt in here. You can always add more to compensate for it to the rest of your soup mixture. You just can't add less once you get it in there. So just so you know. Yeah. And I'm thinking about using some of that chicken broth that I made last night to add to this. You can use whatever liquid you want in this. You could use milk, you could use buttermilk, you could use water, really anything. But I'm going to go ahead and use this because I made bone broth last night. I took those chicken drumsticks out, deboned them, and put the bones back in the slow cooker and cooked those all night, so we have more bone broth, and it's still a little bit warm. So just enough water to this to make it like a biscuit dough. Hoping that rings a bell with whoever's watching. If not, I'll show you what it looks like. And you can always add more flour to it because this is just flour and salt. There's no other ingredients in it to have to figure out the increments. You want to avoid stirring it really any more than you have to. You're not going to knead this dough. I don't know that I've ever had a tough dumpling or a tough noodle, but I guess overworking the dough could have some kind of drastic effect to it. I just don't know. Again, flying by the seat of our pants here. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more flour to this, maybe just a tablespoon or two. Plus we'll have more flour added to it when we roll it out to cut out our dumplings. Now I'm going to let this rest for just a bit. So in the meantime, I'll be getting my pan over there on the stovetop behind me. You can see it. I'll be getting it heated up. I'm going to put some butter in it and add some vegetables. I have my celery, carrots, mushrooms, and onions chopped up. We're going to saute those. And the soup goes pretty quick. In my mind, that is. I mean, I've made versions of this soup before, but I just never write down the recipe to it, so my fault. I'll try to get these things written down as best I can. I'll have to go back and watch the video and actually see what I put in it. But the good part about that for you as the viewer, then if I have to make any additions or any modifications to it, I'll include that in the recipe and you don't have to goof it up the first time. All right, so this is pretty much a good consistency. I'll show you what this looks like. Okay, so it's soft, and if I stick my fingers in the center of it, it's a little bit wet, but it's going to be soaking in that flour that's around it in the meantime too. I'm going to put a cover over this just to keep it from drying out on the top, but we're going to leave it just to relax. So we're going to roll this out. So what we'll do is we'll get our soup made, and then when it gets nice and hot, all the vegetables are sauteed and everything's kind of soft, the chicken's in it, we'll just start dropping the dumplings in. Really, that's the last thing to do for it. And I don't need this until this evening, so we'll just have to keep it warm on the stovetop most of the day. So we'll be right back. Okay, back over here at the stovetop. I have my pan heating up. I have the burner on about medium. I'm going to put butter in here. I'm going to start with about 2 tablespoons to saute our celery, carrots, mushrooms, and onions in. And if you can hear that noise in the background, I apologize. That's just the laundry going. It's a real house. And that's what we do at a real house, is we do some laundry. Now we'll be adding to this as well some salt and pepper and some sage. Sage is one of the things that I love about this soup when I make it in different ways, of course. it just has that flavor of fall to it. And today the weather's just turned just a little bit cool. In fact, so much so that when my husband came home after the gym, I kindly asked him to walk the dogs because I just don't like cold. I don't like it at all. We were at a Bible study last night, and they went around asking people what they liked about the fall, just to kind of get the conversation started. And everybody was saying, oh, I like the cool weather, I like the sports, I like the this, and I like that. I'm like, I'm not a fan of cold, so I like soup. That was my answer. I like soup. And soups are good in the summertime, but man, they're really good when it gets cool outside. All right, the pan should be hot enough. We'll just dump all those in there. I'm also going to add salt at the same time because I want the moisture to come out in those, also known as sweating the vegetables. We'll go with about a half teaspoon for right now. This is my bottle of sage, and I just replenished it not too long ago at our Good Measure Market locally in town. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of sage in here. See what that looks like. We'll add about another half teaspoon. Can always add more later if we need to. Some ground black pepper. I'll just put about 1/4 of a teaspoon of that in there. If y'all buy your spices at Walmart, now these bottles right here, as you can see, like garlic salt and things like that. This came with, there used to be some kind of fermented butter, cod liver oil, something like that. It was a fish oil supplement that I used to take. It came in these bottles, and it cost about $50, $55 for a bottle of it. There's no way I'm throwing that glass bottle away after spending that much for something. But not that it wasn't a great product. I mean, I took it religiously. Well, not religiously, but yeah, you know what I mean. I took it because I thought it was something I needed, and I probably did benefit from it. But I saved all these bottles, and then I had the idea of putting in this, my spices down here in this drawer, because this drawer was just so convenient. There's no way I was putting just random kitchen utensils in it just to get lost in here. But then when I started buying these from our local Kroger and our Walmart store, these bottles alone at some of our stores are about $3 a piece. So if you buy spices in these and you run out, by all means, even if you don't have the capacity to, or even have the interest of storing things in them, pass these on to somebody. There are people out there who would probably love to have these. I save all mine. I pass mine on to my sister, which she doesn't have yet because they're still in a box in my garage because I hadn't seen her since last Christmas. And ain't happy about that. But anyway, I save all those bottles. I just can't bring myself to throw them away because I know how much they cost at other stores. It would be so wasteful to throw those away. So by all means, please recycle those and pass those on to somebody if you don't use them yourself. But even if you use glitter and sequins and stuff like that, or your kids play with beads and stuff, use them to store those in. They're just so cool because you can see in them. They seal well. There's a little shaker top. Even if you put flower seeds in them and shake them over your garden, like basil seeds or something like that are tiny, can go through the holes. But those jars are really neat. Okay, I'm going to put the lid on this. We're going to let this simmer for just a little while. Not simmer, but saute for just a little while. And then we'll be right back. Okay, normally if I'm making just a plain soup, like a vegetable soup, I would, to thicken this, at this point I would add my flour and then make a roux, then add your liquid to it to make a bechamel, and that's going to be a thickening agent for your soup. With this soup, I don't think I'm going to use that, because once I put those dumplings or noodles, however I make them, when I put those in there, that flour is going to thicken up this mixture all by itself. So I don't necessarily think it needs it. There's a difference in a stock that goes in dumplings or noodle soup than there is just a thick soup. So I'm saying that rule for this soup, and I'm sticking to it. So I think it's going to be thick enough just with that. Now this is really not that much vegetables in this, as you can see. I mean, it comes up to, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of a cup at this point, maybe a cup at best. So this is not necessarily a vegetable soup. This is just a flavoring, if you will, for the chicken and dumplings or chicken noodle soup or chicken pot pie or whatever we want to call it. We're going to put some green peas in it at the end, so it's going to look more like a pot pie. But the vegetables kind of are not the star of the show, sadly enough, because I really love me some vegetables. But this soup is not for us, it's for somebody else, so there you go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this cream cheese in. This is about a tablespoon of cream cheese. You knew I was going to do it before the video was over. Let's just get that over with. Stir that around, get it melted. All right, now I'm going to take some of my chicken stock, the one that I was adding to the flour a while ago, add a little bit of that in there. The chicken that I cooked yesterday and then deboned it and had the stock from all that, that was last night. That's been in the refrigerator, so that's actually a cold mixture. This is the warm chicken bone broth that I had cooking overnight. So okay, more than anything right now, this is just to soften up all those vegetables. Not that they're going to be crunchy by the time this gets eaten tonight, because they're not, but just for the sake of showing you, if you're serving it right away, this is what you'll want to do. I'm going to put the lid back on this. I'm going to turn the camera off, and we'll add some more liquid to it in just a bit. Okay, that wasn't long. All right, what I want to show you right now is, I don't think I've ever shown you this before. This is the consistency of the chicken broth that I've had in the refrigerator last night. So if it looks like some gelatin, that's exactly what it is. That's what happens when you put the cider vinegar in this. And probably, I don't know, it probably does if you don't put the cider vinegar in it, but I think it just draws out more with the cider vinegar. It draws out those minerals, but the collagen in those bones just makes it so nice and thick. And if you're like me, if somebody were to say, just drink some chicken broth, I'd be like, you drink some chicken broth? That does not sound good. But I'm here to tell you, it is shockingly good. I'm not even kidding when I say, if you have some gut issues that need addressed and you want to replace your meals with something that's nutritious and not a lot of effort every day to make, that product right there, without the chicken in it, but just the bone broth itself, just adding some salt and some pepper to it and sipping it warm from a mug is phenomenally good. It is just good. I'm going to stand by that forever, because I've been in that position where I needed something to eat and nothing sounded good, but just sipping on that was so comforting. So if you ever try it, you can contact me and tell me how good you think it is, because I'm on your team. All right, I'm going to add some milk to this. I might have to whisk it in. I'm going to get my whisk out just in case. I don't want it to curdle on me. But I like the chicken broth taste, but I also like the taste, the creamy taste that the milk provides in a soup, particularly in one like this. So we're going to add a bit of milk to it. I'll just use what I have left in this gallon of milk. And that's just whole milk. All right, now we're going to put in our chicken and our bone broth. Trying to keep it from splattering everywhere. And while this is heating up, that'll give me time to roll out our dumplings. But I am going to put the lid on this to hold that heat in. So let's go roll out some dumplings over there at the island. All right, I'm also going to add more bone broth. The bone broth I made last night that's still warm, I'm going to put some of that in there because my pan is only maybe that deep with liquid. So just add more. Just don't want you to be left in the dark about it. Okay, I want to set that aside because I may need more, I don't know. All right, so now our dough has rested a bit. And I've cleaned my counter off with, I have a spray bottle that has just straight vinegar in it, just white vinegar, and I use that. That dough's still pretty wet, so I'm going to use quite a bit of flour on my countertop. At Thanksgiving and Christmas, I used to watch my Nana make dumplings. Man, I just thought, oh, I'm going to be so grown up when I make dumplings. I guess that was just, I don't know, a mark of age for me. I don't know. But I still don't make them as good as Nana did. But maybe I'm grown up. I don't know. Grown up enough to make dumplings, I guess. Okay, I'm going to work this a little bit because it needs more flour in it. These are definitely too wet. This is probably one of the messiest things that I make in my kitchen. Man, I usually have flour on the floor and on the countertop and on myself. Just everywhere. I don't even have an apron on. Ah, that's crazy. All right, rolling pin right here. And I'm not going to roll these out too awfully thin. And you want it to have a good coating of flour on the outside. The loose flour on the outside of this is what's going to make that a nice thicker soup. All right, I have to keep checking on it to see if it's, looks like it's getting hot. I don't think it's getting hot yet. And there's no time limit for these to sit on the countertop. That's the nice thing about it. They're not going to dry out. They're not going to go bad. Nothing is going to happen to them. So this all depends on your liking, what size you want them. You can cut them as small as, I don't know, an oyster cracker. Or you can cut them as large as a credit card. It really doesn't matter. Whatever size you want, then that's what you do. This is kind of fun to let kids use a pizza wheel to cut these out. All right. I'm going to wash my hands. I've got some laundry to tend to, so we're going to wait for our liquid to heat up enough to where we can just gently drop these in, but I will turn the camera back on to show you that part. In fact, I'll probably move the camera back over to that part so you can see it when I put it in the liquid. So we'll be right back. All right, I wish I could get this angle to where there wouldn't be such a glare on it, but this is just how my lights above my stove is. So I apologize for the fact that maybe you can't see it as well. Or what maybe looks like a glare is just the fact that it has milk in it. No, that's pretty shiny. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of parsley, dried parsley to this. Just maybe a scant teaspoon of parsley. If you have fresh parsley, that's fine. Just use a little bit more. So our mixture has come to a boil, and I've reduced the temperature, reduced the burner, because I just want it to simmer. I don't want it to come to a rolling boil because it doesn't need to cook that fast. So I'm going to start bringing these dumplings over and dropping them in. And I'm kind of having to roll each one in flour as I take it off the countertop. But you kind of want to just kind of plop them in there one at a time, and watch out, because when that liquid gets on your hand, if you drop them in there too vigorously, that liquid will come up and burn your hand. I know this from experience. Trust me on that one. I am dumb when it comes to just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And don't make the mistake of stirring it too hard. All you want to do is just be able to find your dumplings in there. And I'm guessing mine are sinking to the bottom. If they're disappearing, that's not a good thing. I had that happen one time. I actually made I made a kind of a Thanksgiving, I don't know if it was Thanksgiving or Christmas, I can't remember, but the Harding University football guys, the ones that couldn't go home for the holidays, were going to be eating at a friend of ours' house who's the head football coach there. So I said, let me fix dinner for y'all and y'all just have a good time, just relax. So I made this big old pot of chicken and dumplings, and I promise you there was nothing left. I think I added baking powder to it, to the dough, and I kind of made it like biscuits and dropped it in. They disappeared. I swear it was like a gremlin came along and just ate them or something. I promise. I showed up and it was just chicken, and it was like a good chicken soup, but there was not one dumpling left in there. But thank goodness I had rolls, and I can't remember what all sides I had. I think I made cornbread dressing with it too, but man, how humiliating was that? And luckily there was only like maybe 4 players that couldn't even go, but some of the other coaches came. But I was like, I'm so sorry. I made chicken and dumplings, but actually there's no dumplings in it. That was a horrible thing. But they laughed about it and they ate it anyway. I don't think I got invited back to cook dinner again, though. That was so weird. Okay, I can see some of my dumplings floating to the top. When you first put these in, they're heavy enough to where they go to the bottom, but when they start cooking, they start floating to the top. Just like when we cooked pasta here a while back in a different video. When it floats to the top, it's ready, so. I'm just glad they're not disappearing, like forever. This recipe seems kind of scattered, so if any of this is unclear and you just have questions about it, by all means, ask a question in the comments. And normally, I'm quick to respond to those comments in the same day. Now, if something happens and I'm gone for an extended period of time, which doesn't normally happen very often, but even I can check it from where I am. But if any of this is unclear, or you just have a question about it, or you're just asking, what in the world are you doing? And did that even taste all right? By all means, ask in the comments. I am not too proud to answer very honestly. I'm so unsure of myself and stuff like this when I just kind of make up things as I go. I didn't even wash my bowl. I still have my bowl over here from making my dumpling dough, because I thought, you know what, I may not have enough dumplings for that much liquid. Who knows? So I didn't want to wash a bowl and have to get it right back out and use it. So normally I try to get all my dishes washed up every time I turn the camera off, and I'm just waiting on something to finish. But this time, didn't wash anything yet. If you decide to make this, be sure and check the recipe in the comments, because if there's any corrections I've made at the last minute, I will certainly put them in that. So don't rely just strictly on the video. Go look at that recipe in the description. Because I'm trying to think. I think I added another ½ teaspoon of salt to it a while ago when the camera was off. So I'm taking all that into consideration when I put the recipe in. Okay, get that flour off my hands. This is the flour that's going to thicken it up a bit. So, all right, you can see the dumplings and the chicken right there, hopefully. Let me see if I can get that camera in closer. Whoops. There's the chicken anyway. Okay, hopefully you can see that and the steam's not fogging up the camera. All right, now is when we turn it down all the way to low, and I'm going to put the lid back on it, let it simmer for a while, cook those dumplings all the way. We'll come back in a bit, add the peas to it. Okay, we're back. I just have to tell you, while I had the camera off, I added another 2 ounces of cream cheese to this because it just didn't have enough cream cheese flavor to it. Now, if I were starting all over this, all over again, I would probably add more carrots, more celery, more onions, maybe more mushrooms. Mushrooms are fine. But all that being said, this had too much liquid for the amount of dumplings I had in there. Although the dumplings are a little bit flat, they're a little bit dense. They're not fluffy dumplings like I would normally make, like at Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever. But these are more like a cross between a dumpling and a noodle. So I wound up making another half a batch of noodles. So of course, after I got my island cleaned off and disinfected, I decided it needed more dumplings. So I went ahead and made another batch real quick, cut those up, put those in there. So I think this has the right consistency. I'll just show you what it looks like. I don't have the overhead light on just because I think you get a better view of this if I don't have that light on. So this is what it looks like. This is our last step. I'm going to add about a cup of frozen organic peas. Put those in there, and I've tasted it. You of course will be able to adjust your amount of salt, pepper, sage, whatever you want in there. I love the flavor of sage, but I think it has enough in there. But this is such a pretty soup. I like the colors of the orange carrots, the green peas coming through, and I think our family that we're taking this to tonight is probably going to enjoy this. So I've got to get busy. I turned my burner off on this. I got to get some water heated up. I got to make some homemade rolls to go with that. But thank you for joining us. We look forward to sharing something again with you real soon, and hope you try the soup. But again, if you have questions, I know it's kind of a scattered recipe, and I apologize for that, but that's what happens when you fly by the seat of your pants and cook something. But anyway, thanks guys. See you next time.